Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeremy Heiler. I'm coming to you from Michigan. I'm an 8th grade English teacher and science as well. I am also a co-director for the Chippewa River Writing Project. I am the vice president for ATEG, which is the Assembly of the Teaching of English Grammar. You can find more information about our group at ateg.weebly.com. Basically, we are a subgroup of the National Council of Teachers of English, or NCTE, and we specialize in grammar. And we're looking to have great conversations about grammar with like-minded individuals. So if you're interested in joining our group, you can. Very cheap yearly fees to join our group. And again, you can find that information at ateg.weebly.com. This is the first of many videos that we're going to be posting on behalf of ATEG. I want to thank Sean Rudet and Sherry Sailors, our co-presidents, for allowing me to do this. So be looking for videos from time to time. Hopefully we can get one published every couple weeks, if not probably at least once a month. Today we're going to be talking about the history of grammar. I'm going to be highlighting some things that come out of the book that I co-authored with Dr. Troy Hicks. Believe it or not, the great grammar debate has been going on for hundreds of years. One of the things that we found when we were doing our research, which is really, really interesting in itself. We'll try not to bore you too much with this history. I will try to make it very short and sweet for you, but there is lots of information that helps to lead us to where we're at today when it comes to talking about grammar. One of the first things that I wanted to mention to you today was going all the way back to the very early 1900s, which is a report that was done by James Kenkel and Robert Yates, something that was published titled A Developmental Perspective on the Relationship Between Grammar and Text. And basically, what it boiled down to is that Kenkel and Yates were saying that as writers we have lots of choices, and we shouldn't be looking at grammar as this task that we have to learn, but we should be looking at it as we have all these different tools that are available to us to be able to use in our writing, and we have lots of options to be able to use, which is really cool because we really do have lots of options in our writing. Something that we try to get across to our students, that grammar doesn't have to be boring, but there are lots of things that we can do within our own writing to make it better, such as adjectives. Kind of going along a little bit further, in 1963, there was a National Council of Teachers of English report written, and it was a report on research and written composition that basically stated that formal instruction of grammar had no effect on composition of writing, which is very interesting because that continues to still be the debate today. And it continued to heat up the debate as the years went on. In the 1970s, Mina Shaughnessy wrote something that was called Errors and Expectations, and basically what she was saying is that we shouldn't be afraid to allow our students to make mistakes, or we shouldn't be allowed, or we should not be afraid to make mistakes. Not allowed. We shouldn't be afraid to make mistakes in our own writing, and because of the fact that we need to reflect on that, which is very powerful to think about, because we should be having our students do a lot of reflecting today on their own writing and why did they make the moves that they did as writers, which is something very important in my classroom. You can ask any of the students that have gone on to high school. We do a lot of reflecting in our writing. Not here to float my own boat or anything, just saying, reflection is huge. And, even going back to what Shaughnessy was saying in the 1970s, that was a message that was trying to be said very early on. Moving along a little bit further, in 1980s, more specifically in 1983, the National Commission on Excellence in Education came out with a report that everybody should be familiar with, at least from my generation or people that might be a little bit older, which was called A Nation at Risk. And basically, though there wasn't anything specifically noted about grammar instruction, business leaders and military personnel were saying that they were tired of wasting money and resources on trying to make remedial skills better within individuals, which probably was grammar, to be honest with you, one of those things. So it continues to be a debate, it continues to heat up, continues to be something that was an issue in the 1980s. In 1985, before we get into another resolution passed by NCTE, in 1986, George Hillocks did some research on written composition, and like NCTE, his findings were that of teaching of traditional grammar, doing things like parts of speech, posing of sentences, those types of things had no effect on students' written composition. So going a little bit further down the line, NCTE then passes another resolution. Like I said, in the late 1980s, within that resolution, they said that the use of isolated grammar and usage exercises not supported by theory and research is a deterrent to the improvement of students' speaking and writing, and that in order to improve both of these, class time at all levels must be devoted to opportunities for meaningful listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Basically saying, don't teach grammar in isolation. There's got to be some meaningful purpose here, which again, only built on what Hillocks was saying, and continued to be an issue in terms of students not being able to kind of get grammar. They just weren't getting it. Something that wasn't being retained. And fast forwarding a little bit further, Constance Weaver, who is a huge name when it comes to grammar instruction. In 1996, she published a book called Teaching Grammar in Context. And she noted 12 reasons why teachers continue to teach grammar despite overwhelming evidence that it is unproductive. And does that kind of ask the question of, should we still be teaching grammar? Well, yeah, I think we should still be teaching grammar. But what Constance Weaver was trying to say is that we can't teach grammar alone by itself. Yet, before Constance Weaver came onto the scene in the 1980s and 1990s, anybody that's graduated in those years, you can probably remember all the worksheets that we had to do. So there was still lots of that going on before Constance Weaver came on the scene. And I'm not going to go into her 12 items that she outlined. I would definitely encourage you to investigate those yourself. But we're getting into more of this idea that grammar cannot be taught alone, and it seems to be kind of hitting home a little bit more as the 1990s we're progressing. And then we get into the year 2002, and NCTE had another position statement on grammar and said that students find grammar most interesting when they apply it to authentic text. Try using texts of different kinds, such as newspapers and the student's own writing, as sources of grammar, examples, and exercises, which means that we should be looking at mentor texts. And then another one of the great individuals in terms of teaching grammar, Jeff Anderson, who is no longer in the classroom, that was what he was using. If you have looked at any of his books, such as Revision Decisions, he has a couple other titles that are out there as well, that those particular books that he wrote, he talked about mentor texts. That's very important, something that we should be looking at with our own students. So that's something to take into consideration. Where we're at today, we're looking at a lot of great individuals that are out there that are teaching grammar. Sean Rude, as I mentioned earlier, who is our president of ATEG, he has a lot of awesome books by Routledge talking about how to teach grammar, and I encourage you to pick up any of his books. I said Jeff Anderson, Constance Weaver, one of the other ones is Gretchen Barnaby. Grammar Keepers is a book that she wrote. Amy Benjamin is another one. So there's lots of individuals out there that are talking about teaching of grammar and how to teach it in context. We get into the Common Core. The Common Core doesn't use the term grammar, they use the term language, and there is specific emphasis on language, and there's also specific emphasis on technology. However, as Dr. Hicks and I discovered in our book, that there is no emphasis on technology. As I was saying, Dr. Hicks and I were discovering in our research that there is no emphasis on technology in grammar, and that's why we came up with our book, and we did a lot of research on how can we effectively infuse technology into grammar instruction on a daily basis for our students, because technology is definitely a big part of our world, but we want to make sure we're introducing technology in an efficient way when it comes to grammar instruction. So I encourage you to check out lots of those different resources in terms of the different authors that I mentioned. I also encourage you to check out ATEG at ateg.weebly.com. We'd love to have you. Love to have you join our group. And hopefully any of you that are watching, that you have plans to come on up to CMU or Central Michigan University next week to our conference. It should be a great conference. And we're going to continue this conversation on Twitter as well. I'm going to post a video. You can get a hold of me at jeremybballer.com. Please follow me. I'll follow you back. Love to use Twitter as one of the great resources that are out there. And I'm also going to post it on the hashtag NCTE, and hopefully we can continue some conversation when it comes to grammar. So thank you everyone for watching, and I hope all of you enjoy your day, and I look forward to having further conversations about grammar with you in the future.